Hey, welcome to the I'm Lost Kokoza channel and another video during lockdown. What I wanted to do today, because lists are generally marvellous and it really can work well as a stimulus into other videos, is to talk through top 5 tips for immediately becoming a better stage actor. Now, I'll probably do lists in the future for screen acting and for specifically classical acting, or maybe just Shakespeare, we'll see. But also, a lot of the points that I make in this video will move on to the next kind of technique sessions that I do on here. A few of these points will directly lead into the next few videos. This seemed like the time to do a video like this. So the quickest 5 ways, as far as I'm concerned, to see an immediate difference in your acting, whether you're a training performer or you're an amateur enthusiast. So number one is something that most established professionals know already. It's not something that is anything that's hidden. It's something that's emphasized in drama schools, but it's something that definitely is a major priority, and that is to prioritize your physical life. It's something that you don't necessarily see done in FE establishments, in amateur dramatic societies, particularly where blocking is still a thing. Really, outside of lots of people being on stage in a structured fashion, blocking really should not be a thing that exists. But your physical life is something that you should absolutely prioritize on stage. Now, in the next video after this one, we're going to look at the relationships between a physical life and choosing a physical life, the different ways that you can choose a physical life, and the executing in the moment tactics as a way to achieve your objectives. So how in the moment to moment structure of a scripted play, or even an improvised play, how you can execute the overarching physical framework that you have for your character in a more immediate environment. But prioritizing the physical life is something that is generally one of the biggest differences between high quality professional acting, or even people who are really strongly intuitive, and people who are enthusiasts or starting out but who are struggling to make a leap into being credible. They might be confident on stage, might be able to execute some good characterization skills, but there is something missing. Quite often when it seems like something is missing, it's that there isn't an established physical life beyond I'm doing it like this, or maybe some choreographed movements or something like that. So that's number one. Spending more time on your physical life is probably the number one way to become a better stage actor. Number two is use the general rule of thumb. It's not about you. It's never about you. When you are on stage, focus on others. And in a naturalistic play, that means the other people on stage. In a non-naturalistic play, or if you're soliloquizing or whatever, it may be the audience. But either way around, very few people go through your life thinking about what am I doing most of the time. What we're mostly doing is responding to the world around us. The world around us is what drives our behavior, not something more internal than that. And so focusing on others and not yourself is a huge. All the technique stuff that you do on yourself, yes, that should absolutely be there, but you go on stage and you should forget that. Or when I say forget it, I mean put it in the back of your head. I mean forget it from your immediate conscious thoughts. Your immediate focus and consciousness on stage should always be on the fictional world around you, and especially on the other people and important items, as far as your character is concerned, on stage. Listen. Listening is so vitally important, and responding. So that's number two, focusing on others and not you. The world around you is more important than you. Now, number three is something that is particularly something that either people who come from a background where there's a lot of blocking come from, or something that dancers moving into acting do. Dancers tend to make really good actors once they've got rid of bad habits, and this is kind of the bad habit, but it's something that you see everywhere. And number 3 is avoid rehearsing by repetition, by pure repetition. When you're rehearsing sport or practicing sport, muscle memory is vital. When you're rehearsing dance, muscle memory is vital. Muscle memory when you're acting is an absolute killer. It's not useful at all because it should be a part of your physical framework, but doing something the same way over and over and over again, without changing, without discussing, is a disastrous idea that is going to make your performances, even if it's kind of the first time you do it, it's great. If you try and replicate it, it's not going to work. You have to find something new every time. Now, that doesn't mean that there might be a structure behind it that's the same. And you might end up in the same place over and over again. But you can't rehearse by repetition. It's not what rehearsal's for. You're not going to get better by doing it the same way over and over again. It's not a dance routine. It's not a sport. It's not a game of darts. Muscle memory has a part to play, but it is not in doing it over and over and over again. There is no. If you are just on an afternoon, if you're rehearsing and thinking that, we'll keep running the scene, we'll keep running the scene, we'll keep running the scene. Sometimes that is a terrible, terrible idea. Rehearsing the scene 3 times and each time establishing how you're going to make it different and then properly evaluating what didn't work, and doing that 3 times is better rehearsing than rehearsing the same scene 10 times over and over again and thinking that just because you're doing it over and over again it's going to get better. It's not. If you play darts and you get them and you throw darts over and over and over and over again, you will get better. If you do a dance routine over and over again, you'll get better. If you do physical activity over and over again, you'll get fitter. That's not how acting works. It's not. Okay, the 4th one is a really specific one, and one that is I'm seeing increasingly over the years. Teaching and training programs. This is a really important one. Get on your feet quicker. Get on your feet quicker. There seems to sometimes be a reluctance to start doing, whether it's we want to carry on reading the lines, or we want to sort out the voice, or we want to do the technique exercises first. You should be coming with all the technique done, and we'll get onto that in the next point, but don't put off getting performances on their feet. This is true. In fact, if anything, it's maybe even more true of devised work than scripted performance. But yes, certainly I've seen this trend from students in the last few years that aren't necessarily worse students by any means in general, but there's this increased reluctance to start performing, to start to actually get things on its feet, start rehearsing and start, because this is a kinesthetic subject. I mean, there's no way around. It's a kinesthetic activity that we do, and that learning kinesthetically is a huge part of what you're doing and developing and evaluating on what you are doing kinesthetically is vital. And it should be something that you should be doing from the start of rehearsal period, not 3, 4, 5 weeks in. So yeah, get on your feet quicker. And the last one may come across as a bit tough, but I don't care. If you are a bus driver, getting your driving license is not something that they would consider to be part of the job. If you are a lawyer, learning what the laws are is not a part of the job on a day-to-day basis. They're a part of getting into, learning how to do it is a part of learning how to become a lawyer, but it's not a part of the day-to-day basis. And in the same way, learning your lines is not a part of your job as an actor. And That's the fifth tip to immediately become a better stage actor. Take learning lines as read, not as part of the job. It's something that you have to put in place in order to be able to start your job. It is not a part of the job. Now this feeds into the last one a little bit, but if you think that learning lines is a part of being an actor, now you're wrong. This is kind of maybe the most brutal and harsh truth of the tips that I'm giving you. But any actor who thinks that learning lines is a part of the job of being an actor is not going to be a strong actor, and they're not going to last long. Now that doesn't mean that it's really important that I understand that it might be really tough for people to learn lines. Some people learn lines a lot easier than others. But even if if you struggle to learn lines, you can still be a great actor, as long as you think of of learning those lines and spending all the time that you spend learning those lines as the thing that you do before you start acting, or before you do the job of acting, as opposed to think of it as part of the job of acting. Once you've learned the lines, you still haven't started learning your performance. You still haven't started acting just because you've learned the lines. You've put yourself in the position where you can now start the job. You are not doing the job when you're learning your lines. And if you turn up and start rehearsing and 2 weeks later you haven't learned your lines, you still haven't started acting yet. You haven't started your rehearsal period. You haven't started your rehearsal process, and it's a very blunt truth, but that's it. I'm going to generally be very nice on this channel and touchy, but yeah, that line learning is not acting. Line learning is something that is an impediment, if you haven't done it, to you even starting to do any acting. Which is not the same as saying that I don't understand that some people will find it hard to learn lines, just as some people find it hard to learn to drive. But you need to do it in order to start the process of acting. It's not a part of the process of acting. And on that, we'll leave out. As I said, the next video is going to be on physical life and the relationship between physical life and tactics, and the one after that, or quite soon, we'll be looking at a top 5 tips to immediately become a better screen actor, because they're very different in my opinion. We'll see when we get to it. Okay, anyway, stay safe, all the best, and I'll speak soon. Bye bye.